Okay, so this is probably the least confident I've ever been in a meta that I'm doing a tier list for. So take a massive grain of salt with whatever I say in this tier list. I just haven't been thinking about it a whole ton. There's no major tournaments coming up because we have like this huge break between NAIC and Worlds that we're currently working with. So yeah, take a massive grain of salt with anything I say in this tier list. So that would be the weakest of my tier lists that I've done. But we can start off with Gardevoir, and I'm also not going to do any meta percentages for this one as well because yeah, there's nothing to kind of predict for meta percentages. But Gardevoir, one of the most popular decks, maybe most powerful deck, S tier. Also, because we're doing so many decks, I put a ton of decks in here. We're gonna use S tier, and we're probably gonna put a couple decks in there, but kind of think of it as like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because like usually when people think about S tier, they think like a step above, by quite a bit above the like S tier is usually considered like a step above the format, but S tier's not gonna approach S tier like that. So Gardevoir S, Raging Bolt, it's an okay deck, B tier. Lugia, also a B tier deck, I think. Lugia, Raging Bolt in the B tier. Lost Zone box, pretty good, getting hated on a little bit right now, but I'm actually struggling to not put it in S tier, so I can put Lost Zone box in S tier. Dragapult, I think it's another B tier deck. Actually, Dragapult honestly maybe is C tier. I'm gonna put Dragapult in C tier. We're putting Dragapult in C tier. All the Dragapult decks are making their way to C tier. Charizard Pidgeot, I think it's pretty good right now. I think Charizard Pidgeot's pretty strong right now. S tier. Up next is Regidrago box. This deck feels pretty solid, but I don't really want to say it's better than Lugia or Raging Bolt Ogerpon. So I think they're all going to make their way into B here. Yeah, I'm not confident enough in this deck to say it's better than Raging Bolt or Lugia here. Miraidon is like a super meta specific deck, to be honest. And like right now the meta is pretty wide. And the deck honestly is just kind of mid overall. I kind of want to put Miraidon in D tier, but it's probably a C tier deck. Yeah, it's probably a C tier deck. Snorlax Stall is an okay deck. It loses to a lot of good decks right now, to be honest. But it has its good matchups. It's probably A tier, to be honest. Do I really think Snorlax Stall is that much better than Lugia, Regidrago box, or Raging Bolt? I'm trying to think about like what are the most popular decks right now, and then for that, it's like hard for me to like make a super strong guess with this one. I'm gonna go with, I think it's another B tier deck. What am I gonna put in A though? I guess that's kind of the question. What am I actually putting in A? Cheap Path Excalibur, that also feels like a B tier deck. But then what's an A tier deck? Ancient Box, it's a C tier. Honestly, Ancient Box is probably a D tier deck. Ancient Box isn't very good. It's fun to play. It's a cool deck. It's a pretty bad deck. Yeah, what am I even putting in A tier? I don't even know what I'm putting in A tier at this point, to be honest. We're probably have to move some of the B tiers up to A tier and leave some of them behind. Dragapult Lost Zone box, another C tier deck. I'm putting all the Dragapults in C tier. Golden Go, definitely a C tier deck. Pidgeot Control, also, honestly, I think Pidgeot Control is probably also a C tier deck. Pidgeot Control is just not very good right now. I'm not a big fan of it. I don't think it's that great. You have a tough time against Gardevoir. You have a tough time against a lot of things, to be honest. Yeah, Pidgeot Control, solid C tier deck. Iron Thorns, solid D tier deck. Just a terrible deck, absolutely awful. Still fun though. Dragapult Charizard, another Dragapult deck. All the Dragapults, I'm even gonna put them together. I'm gonna put them all next to each other too. They're all hanging out in C tier together. Let's see, Lost on Charizard. I think Lost on Charizard, Sablezard, whatever you want to call it. I think that deck is super sick right now. I think this deck feels insanely good. Turbo Roaring Moon, this deck is also pretty sick. Been a big fan of this deck recently. It doesn't feel like quite like an A tier deck because you're struggling against like the S tier decks in the format, the Guardy, the Lost Box, Lost Zard, like all four of these top tier 1 decks you're bad against. Or not bad against, but you struggle against all of them. Like you're unfavorable. Actually, your Guardy matchup might be the best out of all of these because you can catch them with an early Greninja. It really just comes down to your Greninja plays in those matchups, to be honest. But I don't know, you feel the Turbo Roaring Moon deck just feels kind of like okay against everything. It feels okay against everything. It feels almost like Turbo Roaring Moon feels like it's maybe like slightly favored against almost everything. Like you're favored against Chien-Pao, you're favored against Regidrago box, you're favored against Snorlax, you're favored against a lot of this lower tier stuff, to be honest. I'm not sure how you pair up into Dragapult, but it's probably not terrible. It's probably not terrible. A Blissey, another D tier deck. Actually, you know what? Blissey does have like some redeeming qualities. I'm gonna make Blissey a C tier deck. I don't think Blissey's as bad as Iron Thorns or Ancient Box. Future Hands as well. I don't think it's quite a D tier. Lost Tina, C tier. Oh, see, I have nothing in A yet. I still have no decks in A. But maybe like Charizard should get dropped down to A tier. I think I'd be comfortable with that. And then when I look at these B tier decks, honestly, the deck I kind of want to move up is Lugia. But like double Iron Hands Lugia. That's the Lugia you want to be playing. And then I almost want to move the Regidrago box up to A tier as well. I've been liking that deck a lot. I don't think I want to move... No, actually, no. I think I want to move Sonic Stall up here as well. I think I want to move Sonic Stall up one as well. And then Dialga, Metang. Honestly, Dialga doesn't seem terrible right now. So I think we put it in B tier as well. Because my understanding is that you have a good Gardevoir matchup. Or your Gardevoir matchup's like fine. You have like a lot of things you can do in the Gardevoir matchup. You can just kind of run over them. So let's go over this again. S tier, we got Gardevoir and both Lost Zone decks. A tier, Snorlax Stall, Charizard, Lugia, Regidrago. Double Iron Hand. I think the Chinchino Lugia I would put down here. Double Iron Hands Lugia I put up here. That deck is sick, actually. That deck's pretty good. Regidrago box. Raging Bolt, Chien Pao, Dialga, Triple Run Moon, B tier. And then the Dragapult squad in here at C tier. Alongside Pidgey Control. Miraidon should maybe be moved up. Maybe. But I'm not convinced. The deck's like pretty bad. I'm kind of coming around a little bit. I'm gonna move Miraidon up to B tier, actually. Golden Go I could also see being a B tier deck. Maybe. I can see it getting up there in the B tier. But I haven't messed around with Golden Go in a little while, so that deck has always been bad up to this point. So I don't want to give it too much credit with having not played it recently in the new meta, in the current meta. Blissey, yeah, definitely not moving Blissey up. Future Hands I could see moving up as well. But for now we're gonna keep it in C tier. Definitely wouldn't move it up to A. So it's like for Future Hands it's a question of C or B. Same thing with Lost Tina. It's a question of C or B. It's never getting its way into A. And then yeah, I like where Ancient Box and Iron Thorns are down here in D tier. Truly some of the worst of the current format, where they belong in the D tier. All right, that's it. Tier list, current format. Like I said, take a massive grain of salt with this one because just like it's actually really interesting because I feel so not in tune with the meta, but that's literally just because there's like no major tournaments coming up really for me to like worry about or think about. But if there was, then I think I would just be more in tune with the meta and my opinions would be stronger and I'd be just thinking about it more like in my daily life, and I'd also be like playing with more of the different variants, the different decks as well. But yeah, because no major tournaments are coming up, I feel less in tune with the meta overall, but there's like less of a meta to even look at or think about because no one else is looking at it or thinking about it in that way either. So yeah, massive grain of salt, current format meta for Twilight Masquerade.